Compact SUVs are becoming more and more fun to drive, and with turbocharging, their small petrol engines make a lot of horsepower. Now, we drove the XUV300 before and we really liked it. Now though, there's a new challenger, the Hyundai Venue, with a brand new 1-litre petrol engine which makes 120 horsepower, which promises to be even more fun. Now it's time to find out which of these SUVs appeals to the heart as much as the head. But this comparison test is a little different because we have the BIC racetrack at our disposal. So we'll be pushing these cars to their limits, and also to top it off, we'll have a drag race. Now both these cars are powered by petrol turbocharged engines, where the Venue's smaller 1-litre engine makes surprisingly more power than the larger 1.2-litre powertrain on the XUV300. It's the Mahindra that makes more torque. The results should be interesting then. Where we were expecting a close drag race, it turned out to be anything but that. Right from the launch to the gear shifts to power delivery, the Venue smokes the XUV300 comprehensively. When the XUV has a 4000 RPM rev lock, you can dump the Venue's clutch at a higher RPM, which gives it an early advantage. We were expecting the Mahindra to pull some of the gap back thanks to the higher torque, but the Venue's slicker gear shift and the fact that the engine doesn't bog down while upshifting, which is a problem in the Mahindra, the Venue kept pulling away even at higher speeds. Now that the Venue has emerged as a clear winner, let's move on to the other important aspects that you can test around the Budh International Circuit, namely braking, cornering ability, and the traction out of corners. When it comes to braking, the XUV, thanks to its all-round setup, has an upper hand. The brake pedal has good bite and it also stays stable under hard braking. The Venue's brakes, on the other hand, don't feel as effective, and also the back end tends to step out of line under heavy load. But once you are done with the braking, the Venue feels light-footed and agile, be it entering the corner or while holding the line through the bend. Even the steering feels direct and has decent amount of feel. The XUV, on the other hand, feels a bit heavier, especially while entering corners, and then there's the ESP, which you can't switch off above 50 km an hour. That doesn't help it speed through corners, and it also cuts in too abruptly while exiting bends. The XUV300, unlike the Venue, has different steering modes. You can choose between comfort, normal and sport. But honestly, it's a bit of a gimmick. It only alters the steering weight, and it feels best when it's left in comfort mode. Now you saw how these cars behave when pushed to the absolute limit. But do you get the same results when you are out on the road? The XUV's 1.2-litre engine has good punch, and especially after 2000 RPM, there's a nice surge and it pulls all the way to the red line. But the problem is, whenever you shift a little hard at about 4000 or 5000 RPM, the engine tends to bog down, which makes progress a little jerky. The XUV has a pliant low-speed ride where it takes even sharper stuff really well. The suspension also works silently, but at higher speeds, you can feel a bit more up and down motion as compared to the Venue, but it's not a deal breaker. Now, as the drag race has proven that the Venue's engine has better outright performance, but even on the road, this engine has linear power delivery, and especially as compared to the XUV, which feels a little jerky, this engine is smooth. Even the gear shift has a more positive throw, which makes changing gears a breeze. Venue's ride at lower speeds is on the stiffer side. Especially over sharp bumps, you can hear the suspension working, which isn't present in the XUV. But as soon as you start going faster, the ride becomes flatter, and especially as a long distance car, the Venue really works. Now with the driving done, let's compare how these cars stack up on the inside. The dash layout on the Venue is a departure from other Hyundais as the floating infotainment screen takes center stage. The dash layout is simple yet looks modern, and the circular knobs with silver accents add a bit of jazz to an otherwise all-black cabin. The large 8-inch infotainment system has a high-res display, and the smoothness and the speed of the screen is very impressive. The quality, though mostly good, isn't perfect. The AC knobs, for example, has hard plastics, and even the door pad graining looks a bit cheap. The front seats on the Venue are well contoured, and the dual leather and fabric upholstery look premium and is perfectly suited for a hot weather. The XUV's dash, on the other hand, looks modern, and the V-shaped center console looks elegant. The 7-inch infotainment system has loads of features, but the graphics look a generation behind the Hyundai system. The quality, though, is surprisingly good and is actually more consistent than on the Hyundai. But the ergonomics aren't the best, as the slim buttons for the aircon aren't the most easy to use on the move. Now the front seat is set to my driving position. I'm 6 foot tall, yet I have good amount of knee room at the back. Also, the cabin width is really good, so 3 people can sit in good comfort, and the fact that you get a 3-point seat belt and adjustable headrest for the center passenger as well makes it a proper 5-seater. But other than that, the rear seat is set a little too low, so under thigh support isn't that great, and also as you can see, my head is touching the roof liner, so headroom is also not that great. Now let's find out how the Venue's rear seat is. As compared to the XUV, the Venue's rear seat doesn't have as much knee room, and even the cabin width isn't as good. But other than that, the seat is really good. There's good support. Even the contour is nice. The scooped out headliner gives you good amount of headroom, and the fact that you get rear AC vents and a charging socket makes your rear seat experience really good. And the Venue continues to hit back against the XUV300 in terms of practicality. The boot space is significantly larger at 350 liters, and you get a flat loading bay as well. Both get 60-40 split that will let you carry more luggage when required. With that out of the way, let's take a look at what you get for the money. Both try to spoil you in their own way. Both the top spec versions that we have on test get a sunroof, cruise control, automatic headlamps, keyless entry, push button start, and a touchscreen infotainment system with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. The XUV300 packs in some segment first features, including front parking sensors, heated wing mirrors, a tire pressure monitoring system, and dual zone climate control instead of a single zone on the Venue. Speaking of which, the Venue gets connected car tech called BlueLink, a wireless charging pad, as well as a chilled glove box over the Mahindra. There's a lot going for the Mahindra XUV300. It's got a premium interior, it's got a pliant low-speed ride, even the engine is refined. What's more, the extra set of features as compared to the Venue does justify the extra premium Mahindra is asking for. On the other hand, the Venue might miss out on some features, but when it comes to ride, handling, engine performance, and seating comfort, it's just a little better than the XUV300. And even if the Venue was as expensive as the XUV, we would have still chosen the Hyundai over the Mahindra.